were there any big revelations watching the 70s movies that you were like, oh, these are better than I thought, worse than I thought?
No, they were better. They were definitely better than I thought. And, they each did have like a discrete idea, even if like the production value is like people walking around in masks, which is fine. But somehow the fact that like with Distance, I'm not that concerned about the production value. I don't like expect it to be, like the Westball 2024 version.
Yeah.
You muted your eyes, as I say.
Yeah. So then you actually really can focus in on, okay, so this one is about like nuclear war, and this one is about celebrity, and this one is about racial hierarchies, and this one is about like prison, and and they're also much shorter. So
yeah, they're all 90 minutes.
They're all 90 minutes. Wow. God bless
like
them.
Those I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Like I saw the first one, and then I come back in Tim Burton.
Yeah.
I think they're all worth checking out. They do get clearly, as opposed to contemporary Hollywood, they get lower in budget the further along you go, and you can really tell. By the time you get to Battle for the Planet of the Apes, you're like, that's the fifth one. You're like, this was made very cheaply. And it's more or less like a hand-to-hand combat war movie.
Yeah. I did not watch the entirety of this movie. I was like, okay, I got it.
That's to me, the Burton one is the worst one.
Yes.
Battle is the second worst one.
I think that's probably true. I think Beneath the Planet of the Apes is like, they try.
It's got such a bleak ending that I have to give it like super bonus points.
But really until the ending, it is like rewarmed Planet of the Apes. It has that very common second installment in a franchise thing where it's like, let's just run it back.
Yes.
Let's do it again.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes is the second movie. The first 45 minutes of the movie is as Amanda said, a complete rehash of the previous story with Charlton Heston, where he's literally he crash lands on the planet. He's looking for the Charlton Heston character. He's a part of a rescue mission. He immediately gets captured by the apes. He stands trial. Everything that happens in the first film.
Right.
Then at the 45-minute mark, he, along with some rebel apes who are helping him, basically discover that there's an underground society where humans, kind of mutant humans, live.
Okay.
And they worship an atomic bomb.
And
like
and
a
it's
real
like
bomb.
it's like
A real
underground, like in Queens or something.
Yes.
Because they're living underground in the old subways.
There's like subway signs.
Yeah.
And the final 45 minutes of the movie is really weird, where you're like surrounded by these mutant humans.
And they have telepathic powers.
Yeah, they can.
There's a lot going on with them.
They've been somehow distorted by the exposure to the nuclear energy.
The radiation has gotten to them.
But and then the movie ends very darkly.
Right.
It's for its boldness, I think it's cool. It's not as fun. It's because you're right. It's a real slog through the first half of it.
And it is like, it's like 3/4 baked, right? It's not totally. It's half baked is unfair, but it takes a while for it to get to its new idea.
Do you think it's better or worse than the James Franco movie?
So I rewatched this one, and like a tough thing among all the other things that we apparently overlooked about James Franco,
right,
is the fact that like that man cannot act. Like,
not a good actor. You don't like him.
Well, he was very good as like the pretty funny guy in all the stoner movies, but like this man is trying to solve Alzheimer's in Rise of the and like respectfully, like that is one of the reasons that we instead of Alzheimer's got like a human ending like pandemic. You know, it's because it was James Franco solving it. So I don't buy him as a scientist. That's pretty tough.
I think the setup of the story in that movie is really good. It's really smart.
But the idea, and I mean, you know, not to like Anne Hathaway it, but like it is 10 years before like the actual, like an actual pandemic that changes, you know, watching it now is interesting in that way. And and like kind of frustrating because they do basically yada yada the pandemic. Like the very end of
you're talking about like,
yeah, because Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which is that movie, is like, it has the amazing Golden Gate Bridge, which is another really good part of it. The Golden Gate Bridge scene.
Very similar to Beneath, where it's like the first 45 minutes, you're like, okay, this is like a movie set in a laboratory, and we're not really getting to know the characters beyond John Lithgow and James Franco. And like Frida Pinto is just like a zero in that movie, like the most non-written character ever.
It was just like a they just threw her in it. Okay, people.
Right.
know
You were
her
beautiful from
Slumdog.
Slumdog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just not developed.
You know
at
the
all.
thing that works about that movie to me? If you get into James Franco and Caesar,
Yeah.
if you just get into that, then the movie works.
I agree.
And yeah,
I agree.
and that part of it does work, even
Yeah.
though like him being like, we need the gene, you know, you're
Yeah.
just like, no. Yeah, like they have him wearing glasses at some point. It's like, no. But all the setup is really good. So despite the Franco-ness of it, it's like pretty interesting.
Would you put it at 7?
Where are you writing this in the?
Yeah, so
spreadsheets?
Planet
What
of
do we
the
have
Apes from
right now?
2001, the Burton remake,
Yeah,
to me
that's
is the
the
worst.
worst.
That's the last one.
That's the worst
I
one.
can't
Battle
be
of the Planet of
completely
the Apes.
involved because I haven't seen 3 of them.
Yeah,
But
we'll hold your hand through.
I mean,
the
also
thing.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is like the first Andy Serkis performance.
Yeah.
There is a lot of good stuff there. So I would put it before. So I would do Beneath the Planet of the Apes at 8 and Rise of the Planet of the Apes at 7.
I agree. My case,
I would really like to see the movie between Rise of the Planet of the Apes and what's the next one? Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
so
Which is like basically Contagion, but
it's interesting that you say that though, because there is a 70s movie that is kind of like that. So like Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, which is a movie that is set in basically in the immediate aftermath of Escape, which is the movie that is about celebrity.
right. Oh, it's like
That
it's
features-
91
yes.
is when they said it.
It
Yeah.
features a character named Caesar.
yeah, Caesar
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
which
back.
is clearly the inspiration for
See,
the Caesar.
I knew that. Like I knew that Caesar was in the old ones, and when he came back, I thought for some reason maybe it was the
you
same
wanna
Caesar.
know-
It's not, but it
Caesar's-
feels like it is at times.
Did they get into this on the parentage
Ape Reddit?
websites? Like
No,
who Caesar is?
no.
So here's what happens at the end of Conquest of the
Mhm.
Planet of the Apes,
Uh-huh.
which is the apes, Zira and Cornelius.
This is the end of Escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like literally like the last 3 minutes. After they've traveled back in time, like been treated like celebrities, but then there's someone who doesn't trust the fact that they're talking intelligent, you know, sure. They're both killed, and you think that their baby is killed, but in fact, they had switched. They'd done a baby swap.
Baby swap.
Like you know,
Yeah,
Like you
um,
do. Yeah.
like you do when they were at the circus.
Yeah.
They were because they had to go. You know,
they had to go. They
Yeah,
parade
yeah.
him around and
And so-
humiliate him.
so their baby with.
By the way,
all
this
of their-
movie has basically been a comedy for the first 75 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
And then there's a violent act and a baby swap.
right.
they kill them both. They die.
They kill them both, and they kill a baby ape. And you think that like the lineage of intelligent apes
It's gone.
is gone, but it turns out because of the baby swap that their baby is still at the circus,
And that's Caesar.
and that's Caesar.
Wow.
So I think Escape and Conquest are probably in 6 and 5 for me. I don't know how you feel about Dawn and War. I know you're not as into those as I am.
Yeah, and I like Dawn more than War.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that.
Because War has a little bit of Kingdom of the Planet Apes, like not problem, but it's serving you a different thing, which is just
War is an action movie.
yeah, it's an action movie with like
Yeah.
a bunch of
Yeah.
apes.
It's just
And I
it's
was
very
like,
Apocalypse Now though. Like it's just very grave
Listen,
and intense
and
violent.
and very just. It's an ugly type of feeling movie.
yeah.
and like you know, it looks very good, but
Yeah.
again, like I am more interested in the conceits of the movies than just like watching them battle it out.
I'm-
But
I'm-
that's a preference thing.
I completely forgot to slot Kingdom. Where does Kingdom go? Is the
Oh.
question.
I love Kingdom.
You did. You loved it more than any of the Reeves or Rupert Wyatt movies?
So, real quick, just so I know, so it's Rise is Franco,
Yes.
Yeah.
then it's Dawn,
Those titles should be flipped based on how the stories are told. But
Right.
yes.
Rise, Dawn, and then Kingdom is
Then War 4,
War 4.
then Kingdom.
Oh, then Kingdom is what we just did.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
So-
not
so-
fucking-
so-
War is what I was saying. I was saying I loved.
Right.
No, I loved War for the Planet of the Apes. I loved Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
I would probably put. What do you think about
Kingdom
what I'm
is
doing
Kingdom is fourth, for sure. So of the contemporary
Of those.
Apes movies, let me reorient
Here?
myself.
Yes,
Of the contemporary
I
Apes
completely
movies,
agree.
Kingdom is fourth. To me, I like Rise more than you guys do.
Sean just put Kingdom behind Rise.
Okay.
Let's just.
So I agree, and I agree.
This
with
is the
that.
first
I
five,
like
and then we can
Rise.
discuss the
I
next
think
five.
Despite James Franco, I like
It's good.
Rise
Yeah.
more than the
It's
most
good.
recent one, and I am affected by like the Caesar human relationships, and he's trying to save his dad. And
Yeah, and the whole
There's great
nine.
moments. The moment when the
Yeah.
neighbor, when John Lithgow gets in the car, and then the neighbor comes out, and he starts
Yeah.
like wagging his finger in his face, and Caesar breaks out, and then he chases the neighbor. Like, there's just
Yeah,
great
yeah,
like
yeah.
those. That's like an intimate portrayal of this world too. It's not just like a big nasty war movie.
Right, and honestly, that movie was so much better than I thought it was going to be.
That's what it is.
Like
All of these movies are like that.
Yeah, I went to that movie thinking, oh, okay, I'll check this out, and then I was like, oh, the movie was so much better than I thought it was going to be. And then when they did the thing at the end, I was like, wait a minute, oh, okay. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so we're moving forward, like we're
Yeah.
because we're going to the Planet of the Apes is the thing. I thought Caesar and them were going to get smart and then just take over the world. That's what I thought was going to happen, but
Right.
nah, because there's not no nuclear bomb. So that ending actually surprised me. I was like, oh shit, and then it was credits and the whole nine.
Okay, here's the 10 through 6.
Okay, cool.
Planet of the Apes, 2001, Burton. Battle for the Planet of the Apes from 1973, which is the least of the 70s movies. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the very crazy but very flawed
Yeah.
direct sequel to the original. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the film we just talked about in this episode. Rise of the Planet of the Apes at 6. This is the James Franco reintroduction to the Apes franchise. So now we've got left on the board the OG Planet of the Apes, 68. Escape from the Planet of the Apes, which is the third film in the franchise, 1971. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth film, also 1971. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the first Matt Reeves movie. And War for the Planet of the Apes, the second Matt Reeves movie.
So Conquest is the prison riot?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, in my personal preference, War of the Planet of the Apes would be next,
Not
but I know
acceptable.
that that's not acceptable. So I said I know that is not acceptable. Do you like Conquest more than Escape?
I like Escape more.
Okay, me too.
I think Escape is a really cool thing that
Okay.
more franchises should try, which is like a hard genre pivot inside the franchise where they're like, this is a comedy now.
Let me ask a bigger question. I actually love it when they do that too. Logan kind of did that.
It did. That's a great example.
Yeah. Let me ask a bigger question. Is it accepted that the Matt Reeves movies as a whole are better than the movies from the 70s?
I mean,
Can you just
I think it would be healthy to stack them like Reeves then 70s, Reeves then 70s, because
Yeah.
or some version of that, because their intentions are totally different.
Okay.
The tones are totally different. The Reeves movies are so serious. Like they're so self-serious, but he is so gifted as a crafts person
yeah.
that I think it justifies that tonal choice, which is way far afield from what all these movies were up until this point. These were like B-movie exploitation movies, you know?
like
they're
70s Logan's Run type of shit? Soylent
very much in
Green?
that
Yeah.
vein.
Yeah.
Very much. And these movies are so critical in the history of movies because they elevated, RIP, by the way, Roger Corman, what Roger Corman's
yeah,
doing in
absolutely.
the 50s, where he's like, I'm going to give you 10 grand, make a movie about a giant ant.
Mm-hmm.
These movies are like a slight step up from that in budget, but they're like also Rod Serling wrote it.
All right.
And I think one of the reasons why we are where we are in our culture, much to Amanda's chagrin at times, but much to the delight of the Midnight Boys, is because of movies like the original Planet of the Apes. So I see those 70s movies as very important. I see some of what's bad about modern franchise culture in the Matt Reeves movies,
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
but I still love those movies. Sorry if I'm like philosophizing too much about this, but I've thought about it a lot.
That's fine. I'm just I'm task oriented right now.
Okay,
So
so
do you want to put Conquest at 5?
I believe Conquest at 5.
Okay,
I will allow War at 4.
great.
Is that a deal?
That's a deal.
Are you comfortable with War at 4?
I am.
Okay.
Do you prefer Dawn of the Planet of the Apes to War of the Planet of the Apes?
To me, it literally goes backwards in which those movies came out
That's your ranking.
for those 4 movies.
So you prefer
actually no, I put Dawn at 1.
that? Okay, that's
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I put Dawn at 1, but I have Rise at 2. I probably have a connection to that movie that's like more. I have Rise at 2. I love Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I really, really, really love the movie.
Rise just has too much stuff like one, Franco being a little bit miscast, two, Frida Pinto just like sitting in a car with Franco driving around doing stuff.
No, I
It
understand
feels-
the situation.
Yeah.
the whole David Oyelowo stuff where
Him
like,
being like the evil lab guy
Yeah.
and all of that
Right,
stuff.
Yeah.
right, doing all the presentation. But when they do the presentation and then the ape crashes through the PowerPoint deck is really
part's
that's
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rupert Wyatt, like kind of never to be heard from again.
Yeah, where's he at?
He made one movie after this for Focus that bombed.
Oh, that's the Will Smith joint?
No, not the movie
Not
Focus,
the,
the studio
for
Focus.
Oh, okay.
But he also directed the remake of The Gambler, starring Mark Wahlberg.
Is that the one where he does a lot of philosophizing?
Yeah, he speaks about Shakespeare
Yeah.
and explains to Brie Larson how the universe works. It's an important
Yeah.
movie. Okay, so that leaves us with is Escape 3 and Dawn 2?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
I
Escape
think so.
is the 71 movie that is about celebrity,
Mm-hmm.
which I think you should check out.
I will
I'd like
watch
to
it.
know
Yeah,
what
you'd
you
like
think
it.
of that movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch him.
I think you'll enjoy it. And then I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is 2, which is
Mhm.
the Jason Clarke, Kerry Russell
That's
movie.
a great movie.
That's
It
really
is a
about
really
this
good
like
movie. Yeah.
basically can we get along
Yeah.
is the idea of that movie.
That's a movie that glues the world together, by the way.
Really interesting movie.
Conceptually, it's the movie where Caesar becomes what Caesar is, where you understand how the apes view each other, where the humans are at this point. That's the movie that kind of glues it together. It's kind of, Rise is almost a prequel.
Yeah, it reminded me of what you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's like the prequel that you
right.
make
And
after
again,
you've made the movies.
I would really like to see the actual pandemic movie in the middle.
Rise is a prequel. Oh, you want to see? Oh, you want
Right.
to see
I
Ape
want-
Contagion?
Right.
Yeah.
Humans dying as
And
apes
as
slowly
apes
build their society.
Slowly build their
Yeah.
society. Station 11 apes.
Yes.
Okay.
Would be good. The original, anything you want to share before we wrap up about the original?
The original is very good.
It's very good. There are 20 minutes in there where it's just like Charlton Heston going from one place to another.
Sure,
Very similar
yeah.
to this new film.
And the woman not speaking.
Nova not
I
talking.
feel like that was indicative
But
of movies at that
I,
time.
It
I
is,
do,
yeah.
you know, Charlton Heston naked for most of this, or mostly naked for most of this movie, and like his grizzled, handsome way. We got to get back there, you know.
We were talking
It's
about
like-
men earlier and
it's
Kevin
powerful
Costner.
stuff.
He was a man.
He was a man,
He was
but you know, it's like
tall man. He had a
he's
lot of
not.
chest hair.
Moses.
He's
Yeah.
not bulking. You know,
No.
there's
No, he's a-
there's no
There was a-
steroids.
Yeah.
He's just like
Yeah.
a dude.
Yeah.
And he looks a little old, but also he looks really
No
handsome.
protein shakes.
And there's that, you
no
know-
machinery that he's
Charlton
working on.
Heston, John Wayne, Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. How are their
Yeah.
politics?
Nice.
It's a movie that obviously has a genius conceit and one of the best endings ever.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think really authentically influenced where movies would
Movies?
go for 50 years.
Yeah.
So you got to give it credit.
It is just a formative, like, ridiculously important science fiction movie. You have to see it. That's why
Yeah.
I was thrilled that Tim Burton was going to take a shot. But even at that time, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. I was like, I don't know. But I was so into it.
Ape Lincoln.
Ape Lincoln was dope. The apes come over. You've seen it.
Yeah.
Tim Burton.
No, I watched the end
The
again.
apes
Yeah.
come over. They all like, it's the ape capital
Yeah.
police.
5-5-0.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5-0. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
what? What's going on?
It's really great.
That's how
Apes-
they should have ended Civil War.
That's funny. Okay, our official Planet of the Apes movie rankings. Number 1, Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton version. Sorry, number 10, Planet of the Apes, 2001. Number 9, Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Number 8, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Number 7, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Number 6, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Number 5, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Number 4, War for the Planet of the Apes. Number 3, Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Number 2, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Number 1, Planet of the Apes.